Welcome to your weekly Social Jack Influence Factory. Introducing your coaches, Dean Delisle, Kate Hassett, and Jackson Delisle.
What's happening?
Hey guys, what's up?
Hi.
Happy Hump Day. You're supposed to say it back.
Happy Hump Day.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, good. Yeah,
Happy
right.
Wednesday.
Right on. All right, so we are here with another episode of the Influence Factory, and we have an interesting guest coming up today that's going to talk about user experience. So, this is about the experience. So, this is something we haven't covered, but it has to really do with influence if you think about it in terms of your credibility, your persona, and how people leave once they've sort of interacted with any of your websites or devices or things like that. So it's going to be a cool show. So remember, Kate, where do people go if they want to interact with you on social?
Yeah, play with us on Twitter. Use the hashtag Influence Factory and Got Influence. And actually, our engagement winner from last week, Lori Crane, who I think is actually Lori Shalil, who's in the building again today, she tagged us on there. So awesome job. Way to engage with us and make sure that you're playing to win those prizes.
Yeah, right on. So nice job, Lori. Good to have you back on with us, and we have people piling in the room as we speak right now. So let's rock and roll here. So remember to maybe turn over your cell phone unless we have you reference it or you're live tweeting. Close your email, take some notes, and you will always learn something cool and fun. Those of you that are new, we have a questions area in the GoToWebinar taskbar, so please type your questions. And today's social question is, I don't know where you're located, but we're here in Chicago, and we've had a lot of rain lately. Kate, did you notice it was raining the last few days?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I noticed the rain.
I didn't have to fill my pool. That was the good news. So, my pool's automatically filled, but we do have to dump extra chlorine in there. But so when you have a rainy day, what is your favorite thing to do? So like you have a rainy day outside and you're just like, oh, we were going to go do this, but what do you do when it's a rainy day? Type that into the questions area of the GoToWebinar taskbar. So Kate, rainy day, what do you love to do?
Going to see a movie.
Oh, so you will go out. You don't,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you got to go see a movie in the theater and it's dark and get some popcorn. That's my favorite thing to do.
Yeah, I like that. Jackson, how about you?
You know me, my answer for anything, a good day, a bad day, rainy day, sunny day, it's always Netflix. It's always Netflix. It's never not Netflix, or sometimes it's Hulu because I'm catching up on shows. Yeah, so that's always a good one too. Amazon Prime, they got a couple good shows on there, so.
Yeah, for sure. Ken says he likes to think great thoughts. So, Ken, that means you're working on your next great book, as Kate would say. Lori says, cuddle up on the couch with a book. Netflix is a close second. There you go. So, what's your favorite show on Netflix? Well, that's a piggyback question. Sounds like a lot of people in here are binge watching Netflix shows. Kate, what's your favorite show?
Orange is the New Black is one of my faves.
Oh, cool. Jackson, okay, I have to ask you. It's got to be Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine is really good. It is not on Netflix. It's on Hulu. So if you're gonna watch it, I'm gonna give this plug right now to Brooklyn Nine-Nine. They just switched over from Fox. It really hurt me because it was actually canceled, and NBC swooped in and saved the day. And now they're coming back for was that a seventh season now? To a sixth or seventh season to NBC. So that's really cool. I'm an NBC guy. I burned all my Fox souvenirs.
It's funny though, as we talk about social media and influence, how when we saw the show cancel, there was some other shows that had some changes of actors. I don't want to go into that right now, but the whole thing is that watching social media blow up when the announcement of a cancellation. And I was thinking to myself from a business perspective, and then we'll get on with a few other things here. But I wonder if the people that are bidding for those shows, because they have to pay for those shows, they're bidding for those shows, they watch the response on social media, not necessarily the viewers, but how much the audience cares for them. And that's got to be an impact of NBC going, let's grab that show, you know? So, like Lori says, the social listen to them, So anyway, that's just what I'm thinking. It's like, we're going to take this off the air, and people are like, no, I promise we'll watch it. And does that create more people even wanting to watch it and then somebody paying more for the show? So anyway, I'm putting that out there. I don't know if anybody knows. But anyway, that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah.
All right. So don't forget, members, sign in. We always have new classes and all kinds of cool things like that. Lori says Fox.
I agree. I agree. Lori said Fox destroys the things I love.
All right.
I tweeted that too. I tweeted that and tagged them. They deserve to know.
Meanwhile, we love Social Jack. Let's make sure people get into the academy and download the latest classes. So. That's super cool. Oh, and we have some events we're going to talk about. So stay tuned to your messenger inside Social Jack. And if you guys want a few free passes, we're going to be offering some, I would say, in-studio passes. You'll know what I mean here in a minute. So 2018 Summer Alliance, July 17th, 19th coming up. Man, that sounds close, doesn't it? We have, so here we go. So this is the first time you guys are going to hear this. Landing pages will be up by tomorrow. It'll start promoting next week. So now listen to this. Influencer Frenzy Networking event. How to add influencer marketing to your next event. New hacks are going to be revealed. So we have some special guests that we're going to announce. So if you want to know how to add mobile to your events, influencers to your events, social streaming like what we do, if you want to know the ins and outs of how to do that, we're going to have a live simulcast here in Chicago from Social Jack headquarters, and we're going to be broadcasting to the world, but we're going to allow a live studio audience, but we can only have 50 people. So if you guys want in on that, you have to let us know so we can save you a seat or two. So just go ahead and type that in. Jackson will track who wants a seat. And of course, we will send you guys a message first, our loyal listeners and members, and then it will go out to the general public all over social media. But please stay tuned for that. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. So if you deal with anything related to events, or you just want to come out and have some Lou Malnati's and some craft beer and wine, and I heard that one of the sponsors are the same people that make all these famous pastries at Mariano's. Mariano's is here in Chicago. I don't know if they're everywhere, but they will be making special pastries just for this program. So just what my diet needs. All right, so save the date, blockchain virtual event. We are going to be doing a 4-hour blockchain event and a 4-hour social media strategy summit event. Save the date. The afternoon of Tuesday, July 24th. These are all central times, 12:30 to 4:30. And then SMSS virtual event. That's not 8 p.m. That's not good. So this is technically they're 12 to 4 people. So I think you have our production times in here, Jackson, but people can show up and help out with production. But save the afternoon of the 24th and 25th. If you know people that are interested in blockchain, it'll be 4 hours of guests and panels. And social media strategy summit will be a lot of the usual suspects on there. All right. Kate, you excited about that one? I know I am.
Yeah, I'm such a blockchain junkie.
Oh my gosh, I was talking about
it.
I was talking about social media strategy summit.
Oh yeah, I'm excited about it. Oh yeah, always excited about SMSS.
I know.
About the blockchain. I was like, that's a little that one's a little above my head.
And I want you and Jackson, and actually everybody else, if you have a special guest that you want us to shoot for on any one of these programs that we're running, we sort of have an influence in some of them. Let us know who you want us to bring back or see, and we will actually feature those people. So super cool. All right. So I guess we got some news today, right? So I don't know who's covering what, but you guys jump in. So LinkedIn releases a new tool to highlight how your skills matched advertised positions. And this goes with contract work or employment work. Jackson, fire away.
Yeah, so I thought this one was really cool. So it was basically, if you're looking for a job in the LinkedIn, your job search, they actually have a new mobile app where it's completely separate from the LinkedIn app. So if you're looking for a job, make sure to download that app as well. Next to the job description, though, there's going to be a scrollable area. If you, Dean, can you zoom in a little bit on there?
On this one, okay.
Yeah. So if you see in this little screen grab that they shared in this article, it's right next to here. There's the skills right there, yeah, with the green checks. You'll be able to scroll through that and basically see how you apply, like how your skills match up with the skills required to apply for this job. So it'll say, 0 to 5 years experience required, and it'll say, okay, yeah, you meet that goal. This is a good fit for you. And it basically grades the match. It matches you up with these things, and it shows how well you're going to do at this job. So that was really cool. And some tips that this article gives you is to keep your skills fresh. That's a big one. Keep your skills fresh and constantly updating, because there are skills that, we lose, and there's skills that we use all the time, and there's skills that we gain along the way. Let's say you no longer use something anymore. You haven't used it in years. It's outdated. You just take that off, and you can add in the new ones that you need. If you're not adding new ones, I would keep those old ones, though.
And don't forget, put your top 3 skills for whatever contract work or employment that you're looking to get. Pin those at the top. We showed you how to do that a few weeks ago, but make sure you do that so that people will recognize you. And then how many people on with us today actually go for B2B contract work? So you're a contractor or you look for contract-based engagements. I think a few of you do that. So in that world, a lot of people use this jobs section to look for contract work as well. It's a very good B2B sales thing. So you can sort of look where people are trying to fill positions. And even though you're not in recruiting, you could be in a temporary service or project that you could provide for that company. So it's a huge opportunity board as well.
Another thing I'd like to mention real quick is, update your location and add your education. Updating your location, as it says there, it makes it 23 times more likely to be found in a search result. So if they're searching for people in the Chicagoland area, and you're in the Chicagoland area, but you don't have it specified in your LinkedIn account, you're not going to show up as high in those results, or at all sometimes. I mean, depends how far out your location is listed. Another thing is adding your education. LinkedIn is saying that if you add your education, and they don't really mention it in here, but adding descriptions under your education is a big thing that we press for, which you can pack in keywords in your description as well, which will boost you to the top of search results, because there's more times that your keywords are appearing, which Dean always says at least 10 times for your top keywords should be in your profile.
Yeah, and that includes locations. So make sure if you're looking in the Chicago market or you want to be found in the Chicago market, add the word Chicago or Chicago metro area, Chicago area, Midwest into your profile, because that will count.
And basically, the more details you pack in there, the more likely you are to be found in search results. And back to Kate with the news. So.
Well, speaking of B2B, the second article, B2B marketers and how they can unlock the potential for their brand. So if you're listening to this, the recording, or, if you're on live, I really suggest you go back and read this one in the follow-up email, because it has a lot of really good information. It's kind of like a blog article, actually. It's about an event that the writer attended. So LinkedIn was celebrating B2B marketing week. Like 2 weeks ago, I think this happened. And so if you were following that hashtag, you saw a lot of B2B marketing tips, and this has a link to them, so you might want to check it out. But there were a couple major takeaways from the article and from the panel that I wanted to touch on. And the first one we've really been talking about since we got back from Social Media Strategy Summit, and that's to make B2B marketing more humanizing the customers and the clients beyond just the job title, right? You want to humanize the brand and the content. So we're bringing the social back into social media, and it touches on a lot of ways you can do that. Also on the list is embedding a purpose in what you do and communicating the purpose. So not posting just to post. You have a strategy, right? I was trying to figure out what you were saying.
Well, because we do this for people. So what part of our influencer is, it's always like, what's your purpose? Why do you love what you do? You know, what drives you? What's your oxygen? Those are some of our interview questions. I'm like, yes, I love this.
Absolutely. So posting with a purpose is going to help drive brand awareness and eventually bring business. And then also on the list is to break the structural stereotypes. So when marketing teams better align with the other parts of the business, they tune into the priorities and the sales targets, and that's going to help you make faster decisions, make an easier process. So you just want to break out a little bit. It doesn't need to be the same recipe every day, the same way to post. So really, really good article helping B2B marketers market themselves, because that's a whole different thing you have to deal with, right?
Yeah, right on, right on. So if you guys on listening live with us today, and actually when you're listening to the recording, just take one and work on, you know, this very one, like today, you know, so be more human. That would be look like having a conversation. And I'm going to talk about hashtags in a minute, but having a very specific personal conversation with your audience, and not pretending that there's 300 million people on LinkedIn, but who's the number one ideal target sitting across from you, and humanize and personalize your posts, make it feel like you're actually talking to a person. And I'm telling you, it will increase engagement. Or embed purpose in all that you do, so that people, not just in your summary, but they feel in your writing, in your speaking, in everything that you do, that there's purpose in there. Or break structural silos. So you want to sort of, you know, differentiate yourself as well. So all cool stuff. Thanks, Kate, and thanks, Jackson, for that. So real quick, I'm going to do a poll here. And this has to do with growing your influence. So we're going to talk about some things real quick in this lesson. We're going to have a quick lesson, then we're going to bring Randy on. But a lot of times, you know, on this poll, you can click on the daisy or flower too. It'll bring it up, and you can click on multiple things here. You know, we have an influencer development program. If you're looking to have access to that 90-day program, just click on that button. Signing up for flash classes, you guys are usually all in on that. Press release SEO if you want to get to the top of Google. But the newest thing on the list here is our event influencer marketing program. And most people don't know that we actually have this, because you'll see us at events, you'll see us filming and streaming, having fun. And we're going to talk about this at our workshop coming up here, or our networking event, training event here in Chicago. But it's very cool, and it's very effective as well. So real quick, let me cover hashtags, and then we'll bring Randy on. So one of the things that is super critical, or I would say super important, I'm going to jump to my screen here. So is the fact that you understand what the use of hashtags are designed to do. So in hashtags, you can now search in your content. And for those of you that weren't on our last flash class, we covered this, but you can actually go in here and search on certain hashtags. So I can type in hashtag, I'll just use marketing just as an easy one here. So if I type in hashtag marketing, let's just do hashtag marketing. So you'll notice that when you go to search in LinkedIn, it automatically goes to content, and you can see not only who is posting things with hashtags in marketing, it connects you to a whole network of people that are using hashtag marketing. We talked about keywords and things like that, but it's important that you understand that you're attaching yourself to a trend. And then you can also see people that are posting these things. What other hashtags could you use? And you'll notice that one of the tactics, I don't approve of putting like 20 hashtags in. We usually try to stick with about 3 or 4. But you'll notice that it's all under the message here. So you still want to have a human conversational message, but putting a hashtag in connects you and attaches you to what people are looking for. So they're looking for good articles, they're looking for good shares, and they're looking for good people. And we want that person to be you that they find. So remember, don't forget the hashtags. at least 1, 2, or 3 as part of your post, as part of your content, and make sure so that you can get indexed. And now what we're finding is this is getting indexed on Google as well. So you're getting not just the inside juice, but you're getting outside connection and juice as well. And then everybody knows you can connect this to your Twitter account, and it works even better if you work with the 2 platforms. So that's a big lesson for today. So have you guys been using hashtags? I just want to hear yes or no in the questions area. So we're going to bring on Randy Ellis. He studied ballet and drama. DJ for Red Bull North America, so that's fun. We're going to hear about that. Created a poverty disruptor app called Chip In. Has over 400 apps on his iPhone, which just blows me away. I can't keep up with the 4 pages that I have of apps. Created a startup in 2013 that focused on local Chicago fashion boutiques, and is really our UX specialist out here. So Randy, welcome on the program today. Good to have you on.
Hey Dean, thanks for having me. Thanks for having me with the social Jackians, so to speak.
Yeah, and it looks like you're in a familiar office there. So I think you're.
Oh
in
yeah. I rented out this place. This is my new co-working space right here. So
right on.
The culture came with it.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It comes complimentary. So it's interesting. So everybody always wants to know sort of the story. So right now you're a keynote speaker. You're a UX specialist, which stands for user experience, and all of us are looking to create the very best user experience. But there, how did you get here? And so, on your bio here, it shows you studied ballet and drama. So maybe just take us through the Red Bull story. And, I know part of it, so I know it's an exciting adventure, but just tell us a little bit about you. I want to know about you.
How much time do we have? I know I'm young, but it seems like a lot of things that
just go. I'll cut you if I need to.
I'll go with it.
Just go. I'll
just
cut
play
you
the
if
wrap up music if you can.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, I mean, in terms of starting off with ballet and drama, I went to the SCPA, which was in Cincinnati. It was a school of creative and performing arts. My mother definitely thought I had a creative bone in my body. So hey, why don't we have him do the Paraway or put him in some leotards or something like that. Let's see if he can do it with that. And it was the wrong choice, but I had fun. But after that, I decided that technology and art was definitely where I would start off at. So from there, I did a number of things. I started getting into web design, and for me, like a lot of people that I teach in class, because I also teach user experience at General Assembly here in the Chicago campus, is that a lot of people say, well, when did you start? And I say, well, I'm dating myself here, but do you remember Macromedia? And if anyone remembers Macromedia,
yes,
that was before Adobe took over Flash and Dreamweaver and Shockwave. So those were my days where, you get the whole suite of software, and I'm not going to say how I got it, but, you just had your ways of learning the craft. And after that, it blew me away. I started going down this path of doing web design for mom and pops in the neighborhood. They, a clothing store on the south side of Chicago. They needed a website done, and I needed to get my experience up, so I decided to do that.
That's super cool. And then, and so I would imagine working for Red Bull, you and I were talking a little bit, and we most of us remember, I think it was 04 to 07 or somewhere in that time frame, where you just couldn't turn anywhere, and you saw the Red Bull, you saw Red Bull cars, trucks, sports stadiums, just everywhere. So talk about a sort of an infusion-based marketing campaign. What was it like to be part of that?
It was real interesting. It came through just out of the luck of just associating and networking with people. And this is definitely a good place to definitely push your users to be comfortable with networking. But how Red Bull happened is, we just started seeing a lot of action, and we reached out to them. We built a relationship, and then they say, hey, we saw you DJing in a particular club. Do you mind wanting to, work with us? So I did things with them, the Flutog, where they'd create these devices or these flight devices, and they launch them off into the Lake Michigan. But most notably from my time with Red Bull is that we did leap year back in 2008. And it was very unique for me because I don't know if any other DJ has done this, but I actually threw a party on the train, on the actual
What?
CTA train.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it had its quirks. Don't get me wrong, it had its quirks because every time the train would switch the third rail, the power would go out, so the music would go out as well. So I had to I had I had to switch to my iPhone at the time, to keep the party going. So I couldn't use the turntables anymore. Bonus points if anyone can find the YouTube video of that. Bonus points if they can find that. I don't know. I have to figure out a prize that I can send the dean or something, but it exists.
That's well. Lori says that in Louisville, she had the Red Bull ferries that would go around to different bars and hand people products. It was awesome, and I remember even on the street. So what's interesting to me is that they used like guerrilla marketing and digital marketing and traditional marketing. Like I remember, like I said, you couldn't go anywhere. I follow auto racing, and so it was all over auto racing. So I just thought it was interesting. Like how did they do that? So they must have had a ton of dough behind them to actually generate that engine, if you will.
Yeah, it was a tremendous push, and I
Yeah.
think one thing that how Red Bull definitely associated or they became one with society is that they did real things. They did things that people actually could embrace and say, "Hey, I do that on the weekends," and here it is, this multi-million dollar, multi-billion dollar corporation doing something that I have interest in. So they made it something approachable and less
Yeah.
friction. And that's something that we're definitely going to talk to, when we start talking about user experience and how those things tie in.
Right. And then you then jumping forward a little bit, you and I talked a little bit about cars.com and everybody that sort of revolutionized or changed. A lot of people know we have car dealerships in our family, and I just remember the internet changing everything related to car dealerships.
Yeah, yeah. And my start was more entry level position, and when we talked earlier, we were the coordinators, we were the inventory coordinators at the time. So when a salesperson was on the road and they got a order, for so many cars to be put on the site, they will send us the form and we will put it into the system. So we were kind of like the web data coordinators of the site, and the salespeople would hound us. They would say, "Is my order done yet? Is my order done yet?" I'm like, wait a minute, there's like 4 million other forms that we have to fill out. But in terms of cars.com here in Chicago, it was pretty much the technological gateway for anyone that wanted to start off in technology here in Chicago. I can't name not one person that did not go through cars.com if they wanted to get a start. So, we owe them a lot in terms of them fueling or being the adrenaline shot for a lot of people that started off here in Chicago technologically, because that's where I started at, with my technology career.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So, how many people that are live with us today? How many people actually have gone to the internet before they go to the car dealership? I'd be surprised if it isn't 100%, honestly. Yeah, everybody
Yeah.
everybody says I do, I do, I do. Yeah, for sure. It's like crazy. It's just and even though I still love going to the car dealership because I'm more of a touch person where I want to drive
Mhm.
the vehicle and I want to know things, I still want to know ahead of time, even if I'm going to a family dealership. So, but Lori says she
Yeah.
goes to the internet before she does anything. So,
Yeah, I mean that's the way we browse. That's the way we window shop these days. It's 21st century window shopping. That is our view into the world, and there's no denying it. Definitely, I like the experience of going into the store and actually seeing. I was planning on buying a pair of headphones last week, and the ones that I had my eye on, I said, okay, well, I can buy them on Amazon, but I want to see if these are actually quality. So let me go into the store and lift them up, see if they can fit in my bag, do things like that because it's real world applications that's applied to that. And I got the headphones. I was like, no, those headphones are not for me. So I'm glad I did that rather than having to go through the hassle of returning it to Amazon, even though Amazon has made it a lot easier to return. If you know the stores, they have dedicated stores where you can return and pick up stuff at. So they're
for
making it
sure.
easier for online shopping day by day.
And just so you know, Lori, who's been winning a lot around here lately, found the video. So Randy, you owe Lori.
Uh-oh,
So, yeah,
uh-oh.
yep. So maybe
Okay, we have to figure that
maybe
out.
she wins a UX consultation or something like that. How about, you
There
never
we
know.
go. Yeah, hey, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. We definitely got some
We'll connect
info
you two up and
sessions.
you figure it out. But she put the video right in here, so she's got it. So
Oh
it's funny.
no, oh
I
no.
know, I know. Hey, listen, so, as we're talking about cars.com and Red Bull and all these things, you've developed sort of a passion for UX, for helping people with creating the ultimate user experience. So tell us, just tell us, what does that mean? First of all, for those of us that don't understand UX, what does that mean to
Yeah.
us?
I get that question a lot, and over the years, I have one remark or I have one statement that kind of works for me, and I adjust it depending on the audience. But for the social jackians out there, I'm sure everyone is smart, but I'll still give this remark. It's mapping human behaviors to create a great web experience, not only for digital consumers but also for businesses as well too, because we strike a balance between what business goals are, because businesses love making money, of course, and then you have user goals that want intuitive experiences. So you have to meet those. You just can't have one side way more than the other. So what we do as user experience engineers or designers or developers is that we find, well, we ask the question, what will make this person's experience better? What are their pain points? What are the things that they are struggling with on an everyday basis? User experience, we focus on real world problems. We don't create problems and then try to find a solve for them. We actually say, hey, how is this person struggling with this particular device? Or this particular website or the checkout process? How can we make it easier? How can we make it simpler for them so they can do less thinking and more action?
Yeah, I like that. I like that. So, one of the things that comes to mind or I think about in terms of user experience, so does it apply? We do a lot of campaigns with landing pages and we do a lot of event pages. And then there's the main website and there's social media and there's mobile apps and things like that. We have a mobile app. So as we look at all this, where does the user experience matter most?
Um, Honestly, there's no really accurate area. And user experience evolves around everything.
Right.
I like to say that because yes, I want to stay in business, but at the same time, you definitely want user experience not to be something that you just drop ship into a particular life cycle of your product or service. It should be at the beginning, right when you start developing your idea, because you have to start off with what is it that I'm trying to solve for my audience, for my demographic, for my consumer. And if that's not being met, then you have to definitely create other hypotheses and validate those through a number of strategies that we do in user experience, such as getting out the building and talking to people. Steve Blank is a pioneer. He's the grandfather of the startup process. So the name is how it sounds, Steve Blank. You can look him up, and he definitely gives you a step-by-step of how to use the startup process to go out and find the true value. Because if you can solve a problem for someone from day one, they're not going to hesitate in opening their wallet. They're going to say, hey, this saves me time, it saves me money. How much? It's only when you are not, and when you're forcing that square peg in a round hole, that you get people to be hesitant and they want to haggle, or they want to say, well, I can find Johnny down the street that can do it for free. That's when you're trying to force an issue.
Yeah, that's interesting. So with that, as our team is listening in, we have Kate on social and influencer marketing. We have Jackson deals with event pages and landing pages. Joe and his team are websites and landing pages. So those people that are on with us today that are listening in and wondering, well, how can I, you know, first of all, why does user experience matter? How does it affect the bottom line? And then what are some things I can do to be better at that?
Mhm. Well, I'll start off with a perfect example. We all know Amazon, right? Amazon is everywhere. It's ubiquitous.
Oh man.
In the early days of Amazon, Jeff Bezos, the CEO of Amazon, guess how much he dedicated to advertising in the beginning? I'm
Really?
asking you, Dean.
Yeah, yes. No, I'm thinking about the fact, yeah, I'm thinking about like for for Amazon, it's interesting. No matter how I try to buy something, I always wind up at Amazon. And that has to be by
Yeah.
plan. And I feel, and the other thing is I don't know if I'm necessarily as encouraged by my experience, but I literally noticed that and I've said this before, it's its own social network. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Yeah.
I look at all the people's reviews. If there's something that's not reviewed,
Yes.
I'm questioning right out of the gate. And so for me, it's become a
Yes.
social experience, not just a user interface experience.
Exactly.
Lori says
Exactly.
we
So
even have a comment where somebody says they enjoy talking to customer service. They love it so much.
yeah,
You
you
rarely
know,
hear that, man.
and
Who
those
enjoys?
you rarely do. You rarely do. But to go back to in the early days of Amazon, he spent $0 on marketing and advertising. If you go back to 1999, 1998, you didn't see an Amazon billboard. Now you see them now because they can't help it but to expand and grow and scale. But he dedicated all of his dollars, all of his time and effort into the customer experience. The thing about social media networks and places like Amazon is that they don't want us to think too hard.
Yes, it's a good
If
call.
we have to think too hard, then it's not a helpful experience for us. The checkout flow, the one-click buy, the one tap setup, they want us to get in and get out because they need those metrics in order for them to make a better personalized experience for you. So I always like to tell people, I know Facebook is not the topic, but we have to step back and realize like how much intertwined Facebook is in our lives, and that was done through user experience by being able to understand people's behaviors, their habits, and then that data is then kind of transferred and distributed out to other people. So then more personalization can be figured out and tailor made for us. So while Facebook is doing amazing things, there's also some things of saying, hey, if it's free, you're the product. That's what I always like to tell people. That's the Facebook mantra. With Amazon, when you go through the checkout process, it's seamless. They don't want you to think about, oh, should I buy this? Should I wait until the next pay period? Should I save up for this? They're like, no, we want you in. The moment you add it to
Yeah.
cart, they're sending you other deals. They're sending you other recommendations so they can keep you hooked.
That's amazing. So you alluded to this early on, but I'm always curious, like where do they study your emotions, like how you feel? I mean, do they go to that level, and should we go to that level as small business owners and people that are responsible for experience? How do you even quantify that or measure that?
I would say the beginning steps for any small business is to have human to human interaction. We
Yeah,
have the channels B2C and then B2B. I like to say it's H to H. It's human to human interaction, especially when
I
you're a
love
small
it.
business. So you have to be able to go out and talk to people and say, tell me a story. Tell me about this particular time where this has happened. And you just sit back and listen to people. We're all about stories because things make sense by telling it in a story. So if small businesses can start off there, then you can possibly graduate depending on how much success you have in your future with your product or service. Then you can start graduating to eye tracking or virtual reality or artificial intelligence. But it's you can never beat being able to sit down with someone over a cup of coffee or over lunch and say, hey, tell me about this point in time in your life where you had to solve this problem and you couldn't because of X.
Right.
And then you just take that information and you go back and you build a better mousetrap.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. And what's interesting is I know, sometimes I'll drive the team nuts, and Kate's probably going sometimes. But it's I'll be like, did we pick up the phone? Did we talk to the person? Because I guess it still drives me nuts how, with all the technology advancement, and I'm in technology business. I must have about 20 cables in this room here. So I'm plugged into something somewhere all the time, whether it's my device or whatever. But it's like, at some point, I think there needs to be a balance where we're, like you said, almost speaking to the human to human aspect of this, and understanding from their voice what matters to them. Are they, how are they feeling about what we're doing? Are they excited about this? What do you think about that?
Yeah, just to echo that, a lot of times when I speak to students or they come into a class, a lot of them think that we're going to be drawing boxes and squares and triangles on a whiteboard and finding some way to connect them through some type of magic, theory or some type of magic UX thing going on.
Right.
But it's not the case. We start off in our classes by doing research, and we do interviews. We come up with a problem statement. After the problem statement, we validate that problem statement or we refine it. So there's a number of steps that we actually take through our course to make sure that when a student is going to be with us for the next 10 weeks, they are actually working on a project that, one, they are passionate about, and two, it can be validated because they've talked to a person that has experienced those pain points in their life. So it's almost kind of like, wow, this problem is, it's not unique, but the competitors are not doing what they need to do on their job. So let me go ahead and see if I can leapfrog their innovation or leapfrog their process, look at their bad reviews and see what I can fix in their bad reviews, and then make a better product or service out of that.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Um, I was just thinking about this as I'm looking, I'm constantly looking at our uh, I'm just laughing because sometimes people put funny comments in here, right? So, and please ask questions. Don't just make comments to our crowd out there, you guys. If you have questions about this fascinates me because I think about our own experience. And sometimes I think we fall into sort of checklist and task, just as small business owners, everybody's busy, this for yourself as well. And so we'll fall into this and I'm like, got the landing page done, check, got this done, check. We did these posts, check, but we're not stepping back and actually determining what that feels like to the person that has to use it. It's almost like they tell you that half the programs in the world, half the problem with them is they're built by engineers. They're not built by, with the user in mind. And it still blows me away in
Exactly.
today's world that happens. So what are you seeing out there in
Yeah.
the rest of the world?
Well, one thing, then you're not alone. From a small business owner to a medium-sized business owner to a major conglomerate that is the world leader in consumer goods packaging, they do a lot of leapfrogging of the process of talking to customers, especially when they're building a product. It's okay to have focus groups. It's okay to definitely do surveys and get those types of metrics that can help you push you in the direction, but it never gets away from me that once you build something and you spend hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, and you don't test it with the actual people. You may test it, through QA, with the dev team overseas or something of that nature, or you may do your own rogue form of testing. But people leave out the fact that, okay, let's set some scenarios for these users. Let's give them some instructions and then step back and see how
Yes.
they get confused or how streamlined the process is, and take notes on that, because that's vital. That's vital information that a corporation or a small business owner can use when they're releasing a new product or they're just starting their business. How easy is it for them to contact us? It could be straightforward with you because you built the website, and you're kind of like you're close up on the problem and you don't see it. But the moment you sit back and you give this to someone, you say, hey, can you find the contact us button? And then the person that would use it will say, well, I don't know where it's at. I don't know where to start. That gives you a huge gold mine right there. So it never stops for me to say, hey, before we build this product, Let's validate it, and then once we validate it, we build, and then we test, and then we learn, and then it's a constant loop. You continue to iterate. Another thing that I express to people is never go into it with intentions of hitting a home run right off the bat. You can be, McGuire, you can be Sosa. I'm not much of a sports person, but whoever is the hot home run king out here these days.
So you can juice up and put cork in your bat.
Exactly, all that stuff. But then there's going to be some swings that you miss.
Right.
So
Yeah.
never go into building a product or service thinking that you're going to hit a home run. It's an iteration. It's a step by step. It's an evolution of your product in the beginning. You're going to start off. Jeff Spool, he's definitely one of our pioneers in the UX world of human-computer interaction. He said, no one is ever going to like your ugly baby except you. Because we may see a ugly baby in public and we say, oh, that's a great kid right there, but we never compliment it on his looks because that's your baby. You're going to think your baby is the best. So yeah, your 1.0 version of your website or your app release or service or hardware is gonna be ugly. I show a lot of early on prototypes of the first Apple iPhone, and it looks like a Zune. Remember the Microsoft Zune? It looks
gosh.
like that's it looks like the early prototypes of the Apple first phone released in 2007 looks like a Zune. And it's clunky, is horrible, but Apple had to take the necessary steps to evolve and iterate their process to get to what we see today.
Crazy. Do you remember the first version of Windows? Holy smokes, that was bad. So Jimmy, we're gonna take a couple questions. I can't believe how
I'm gonna
time
start
flies.
getting flashbacks.
We're almost out of time here. Goodness. So Jimmy Z asks, he goes, what are some easy ways to test some products? He goes, Facebook ads can get a good sample. Are there any other good ways to sort of get that sample or, from the test audience?
There's a few websites. One website is 99 Test or Test 99. That's a good solution for you to go out and get some people to actually test your product. There are a few other ones that escape me right now, but I can definitely get back to Dean and give you an addendum of that in the future. But try Test 99, and then just good old fashioned talking to friends and family to really from an unbiased standpoint really helps as well too. Because I try to tell people stay away from friends and family because they kind of give you the push regardless of whether they like your product or not. They love your ugly baby even though they know it's ugly, but it never stops to reach out and talk to those people. So check that website out, and then also talk to friends and family. They can help you as well.
Yeah, and I'd say, I always say people that you trust are going to give you an honest answer, so maybe clients or people that, you collaborate with too, that are closest to the target. I think that's a good thought too. So as we look to wrap up here, what are, if you were going to just give sort of your 3 top pieces of advice so that we can all have a better, think about or at least hold conscious the user experience for all of us out there. What are 3 top takeaways that you have for us?
I think that was the theme throughout our whole discussion is test, never assume. 2 actually is never think you know all the answers. There's never going to be a situation where you think you know it all. And that's just with the approach of business. You never want to say, hey, I think we've caught lightning in the bottle, because that rarely happens, in some cases. But then you don't get comfortable as well, too. And that brings me to my 3rd point. Don't get comfortable. Because I've seen it with a lot of the companies that I've consulted for, where they get into a position of, we lead the pack. There's no sense for us to continue to innovate. And then that's when good old technology catches up with them and says, hey, you're kind of 6 months behind, and that's like doggy in doggy. It's like 20 years or something like that when it comes to technology. So you have to always want to innovate. You have to always want to put yourself in an uncomfortable position to say, okay, well, what is it that we're not doing? How and what it is that we're not doing, what can we find out about that? And does it fit our business? Does it fit our culture?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. No, I appreciate that. And we have your basically, your Twitter handle up here on the screen. I am Randy Ellis. And if there's where do you want to direct people if they want to, maybe talk to you more, talk to you further, and we'll put this in the email that goes out to everybody too.
Yeah, these are perfect channels to reach out to me. You can definitely email me at hi Randy, or actually hey Randy at
Hey, Randy, yeah.
5hat.com.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
saw that.
hey Randy at 5hat.com, and that's the number 5 IVEHAT.com.
Got it. Perfect. All right. Well, hang on with us because we're going to announce a winner here from today's program. That we always get somebody that's engaging with us. That because we know that engagement is the secret to all of this. And then we're going to do a little bit of wrap up, and then we do have a polling question up, and I'm glad to see it. It says, "Are you a business influencer?" to our audience, and we have 100% yes, because remember that each and every one of you are an influencer in your own way, in your own world. It's just your choices. How are you influencing? So we always want everybody to own that influencer-ness, if you will. Right, Randy? So there we go. So welcome back, Kate and Jackson. How you doing?
Pretty good.
Sorry, I was muted.
That's okay. How's the internet channels going on? The Twitter channels out there, Kate? They're still tweeting?
Yeah, everyone was playing with us online. Everyone liked what Randy had to say. Really awesome.
Good. Yeah, no, I think it's something that we often overlook. And so I think it's important for us to hear it, but it's also important for us to, to think about that human to human factor. I think that was, again, one of my biggest takeaways is to flip the whole thing upside down. And when we're looking at something that we're building or developing that someone's going to come in contact with, how would we feel using that?
Exactly.
Jackson, you deal with a lot of landing pages and events. What about on your side? What's coming up for you?
Just double, triple checking everything. Everything he said. It was like, just even things that I thought about prior to this, they're just coming back up. Like things that I'm like, oh, okay, I haven't thought about that in a while. And the biggest thing was, just making sure it's, user friendly, because I'm always going. And I cheated a little bit. I was on your website as well. So I was in the headline says something along the lines of, not just eye candy, but like, user friendly. And that's an awesome thing. And I always go, oh, this looks awesome, but how user friendly is it? That's what I need to,
Exactly.
really, I need to find that nice balance.
A lot of my students that come through the 10-week course, they expect it to be some type of design competition. And
Right.
I shut that down right away. I say, we're not here to make things look pretty. We're here to make things intuitive, friendly, and just it's from a performance standpoint, it makes things easier for people to achieve. You can have the worst design on the planet. There was a student that went through the class. He made a restaurant app, and he did not have a design bone in his body, but the functionality made sense, and he passed the class. He was one of the best students from there. He got what he came for.
That's awesome. Yeah, that was the biggest thing that came up for me. And I'm glad you brought it up and that I kind of cheated and was on your website. But yeah, it was awesome. So.
Well, it's okay. He has one more view today, so that he loves that.
Yeah, definitely. It all works. And also for the listeners and anyone that happens to be in the Chicagoland area, please reach out to me if you ever want to talk about getting into the world of UX from a career standpoint. We've influenced, we've pushed people, hundreds of people through General Assembly to start off. I mean, people that did not know anything about UX to now they're in senior positions. They're interning at some of the top agencies here in Chicago. So it's not a problem for me to sit down and say, okay, well, what's your path? What is it that you want to do? So please email me, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever. I'll be happy to talk to you about it.
Right on. So everybody in the audience, type in one takeaway from our discussion today on user experience. What are you going to look at differently? What are you going to change? Kate, how about you on social media side?
Well, I really like that human to human, that H2H. I'm definitely going to have to preach that. But I cheated too. I researched Randy a little bit before we brought him on. But it's interesting to me because a couple of years ago, I didn't really know this was a career field. And at Wild Adventures at the theme park, we experienced a lot of this with the website. We got to custom build our website a lot. And so we got to say, like, it would be cool to have this here. It'd be cool to have this here. And then we'd get feedback from people who were not inside the organization that are like, from an outside standpoint, this looks bad. So that kind of opened my eyes to what UX is, and so I really enjoyed having you on.
Yeah.
But you tested. That was the good thing. You tested it.
Yeah, we asked people, right? We took your tips without even hearing them. Look at that.
Right on, right on. All right, well, we're going to wrap up here. So, Jackson, tell us about next week's guest, Andy Crestadonia. He's basically world famous, but tell us a little bit.
Yeah, this guy has a huge following on Twitter, and he, I mean, Twitter alone is a huge following, and his other social platforms, another huge following. Just some quick facts about him. He's CMO and co-founder at Orbit Media Studios. He was listed on Forbes' top 10 online marketing experts to listen to in 2015. And then again in 2016, he was listed in Entrepreneur Magazine, top 50 marketing influencers. So this is the Influence Factory. We bring on influencers, and he was, published as an influencer to listen to 2 years in a row.
There we go.
He's also a mentor at the #1 incubator in the United States, which is 1871. And his topic for next week, what he's going to talk about and discuss, what you guys can look forward to, is analytics, Google Analytics, as well as analytics on your content. So make sure to tune in.
People ask us all the time about social media analytics, and Andy's going to touch it. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, and just so people know, he's our go-to person whenever we question analytics. So sort of that whole thing. So we asked everybody what their one takeaway was, and it seems to be the human-to-human thing. So Jackson, in terms of our engagement winner today, who is it?
So it was close. It was close between two people, but one person was just a little bit more engaged, and it was Jimmy Z, a longtime listener. And a longer time, friend of the Social Jack team.
And he's been a guest on the show, too.
Yeah, he's been a guest on the show. So.
Right on, right on. All right, well, it's always fun. Congratulations, Jimmy Z. We got to get together for our coffee and turn it into a martini. So there we go. Well, I think you guys were talking about Red Bull and mixing it with something earlier. But
yeah, Red Bull and vodka.
Okay, so we'll get Tito's and Red Bull to sponsor us. How about that, Randy? We'll go for that. All right. Well, listen, thanks, Randy, again. We appreciate you. We appreciate you being one of our influencers out there and really helping us understand how important it is to create that user experience, no matter what we're putting out there, and think about the customer first. So I really like that. So nice job. Thanks for being on with us. And all the channels are up there. And we look forward to seeing all of you next time. And we'll see you online from here. Thanks, everybody. And tune in next week. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Yeah.